Welcome to the Founder Experience, where we're charting the unpredictable waters of startup ventures. I'm Nathan Williams.
And I'm Alex Gutjahr. All right, so this is something that's front and center for me right now. The question, how do you manage stress, right? Because we both are, we both have many things on our plate, like also business-wise, where sometimes it can get a little bit too much, right? Especially if you're a founder, you're starting out, that's easy and it's fun, you're doing the fun stuff, but then things grow, there's more responsibility. At some point you have customers to take care of or employees, and there's only so much that you as an individual can take care of, right? You can do it for some time, but then usually there's a point where it's getting really messy. And full disclosure, I feel like I'm at a point like this right now where I've been thinking this week, okay, what are the tools and tactics, if you will, that bring me down and let me focus? Because this is the danger. Whenever I get into that mode, I'm losing track of the shore, kind of, right? I feel like, okay, I'm just reacting, and it's getting worse because when you're just reacting, you don't make the space to optimize things. So you need to create that buffer to see clearly. And I leave it. Yeah, over to you. I have a few thoughts, but over to you for this one.
I've got a tool and trick here that might sound a little funny, but I'm 100% serious. I don't know if it'll help you today, but it's something that I do. Horror movies.
No shade, really. Horror movies.
Horror movies.
Tell me more.
I tell you something. It's a little bit like, you know how people eat spicy food because it makes you sort of tolerant to heat and makes you sweat, and so you can and so you actually get used to hotter temperatures without actually making yourself hotter. It's sort of like that, you know. Everyone in a horror movie is having a worse day than I am. And
I see. Okay.
Right. and it's sort of funny, but it's kind of serious, you know, like it's a way of training your brain to handle stressful situations without actually being in danger. And this goes for horror themed video games, shooters, things like that. You know, it's not a magic bullet to stop everything, and it's certainly, if you're in the middle of stress, it's not going to necessarily help. But in terms of just something, and it's not something I actively did. I just found, like, I never liked, you know, scary stuff when I was, you know, younger. But then when I started a business, for some reason, I just found myself attracted on, you know, like more and more tense movies and video games and stuff. And I think that's part of it.
Oh, that's great. But you're saying, so this is not a short-term fix for when you're stressed out already. So this is something that you do regularly anyway. So it helps.
Yeah.
Or is it just okay?
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm perfectly honest, rather than playing these things myself, I'll watch other YouTubers play them so that they're the ones who are scared.
I mean, I really have to try this. Because I wrote down a thing that I'm doing often, not every time, but I felt already quite goofy when I wrote it down. But I like yours much more, because mine is like so the thing is, I often, when I'm stressed out, like really, really heavily, I feel like I lose control, right? It's like, okay, I'm not on top of things. So what I do then is something where I feel like I'm fully in control of what's happening. So what I do is, you're ready for this? I load the dishwasher in slow motion. It's like
God.
So I take a cup, like a cup, just here. I take it and I load it very deliberately. I really just do it like full on attention, because I feel like this is fine. Like, this is the playing field, is the dishwasher, and there's
You're
this
stressed.
cup.
You got to come to my house. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. So that's not how it works, of course. But
Can you also clean the stove? And
I'm not sure if it works like this. So the basic idea is just doing something where I feel like I'm entirely in control, to get back that sense of agency, right? Where I feel like, okay, this is fine, and then expand from there. And it sounds silly, I know, but I realized at some point this has helped me. And there are a few more things, so we should discuss them. This is I feel like this is the 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 strangest thing I'm doing. I'm happy to admit this. Um, but yeah, it's more of a listicle kind of episode right now. So I have a few more that we can run down. But let's what else do you have in store?
I wanted to talk about that one in particular, though, because this one is a very common tactic that you can use, but it also can be a trap. I know a lot of people who, when they're like, one of the big causes of stress is when they don't know what to do next, right? They don't know actually what happens next, and so the appropriate and good approach is to do what you know and do what you can do. And this is good if it leads you closer to the goal, but it's not so good if it's a distraction from the goal, right? So the it can become a trap. So, for example, if you're starting a business, I know someone who I'm helping start a business right now, and I'm mentoring them and giving some advice. And one of the things that they'll do is, if they don't know what comes next,
Uh-huh.
is to do tasks that they know how to do. Like cleaning is one of them, actually, and that's fine. But if it becomes sort of like 6 hours,
I see.
and
I
then
see
they
what you're saying.
don't
Yeah.
accomplish anything toward that part of a goal, then the source of stress is still hanging over their head.
Yeah,
But they've managed to give a bit of short-term relief to their brain,
that's
but they
true.
haven't gotten rid of the source of stress, which is not knowing what to do next.
Yeah, and I guess this is similar. Like that reminds me of one of the quotes. I'm not sure who brought it up. I have to provide that info later on. It's not for me, but someone who said like the biggest obstacle to a bigger goal is a lesser goal, something along those lines. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry, but that's I feel that this is very similar, right? Because you're or at least that's how I would interpret it, right? So you're just making steps towards something that's not directly contributing to where you want to go actually, right? So I see that can be a trap. For me, it's really like getting back the sense of agency and then trying to leverage it, right? So it doesn't feel like it's a huge step doing something that feels heavy right now, or even knowing what to do, but really just getting it's some sort of numbness at some point, right? It's like as I said, it's mostly not having clarity about what to do next.
Mm.
And so one of the results is okay, you just freeze in place. It's like okay, it's all too much. I don't know. It's
Yeah, it's like a fight or flight response.
yes, exactly. And for me, then it's really just creating that space to get out of that, right? And then just trying, okay, slowly expanding from, okay, I have control over this. Okay, I'm getting back to where I want to go, just tiny steps, right? But again, I agree that that can also be a trap if you're
You,
just
you know,
doing this.
you know what I found in the past, even in the past few months, is that we now have more potential tools to help us get out of at least that type of trap where we don't know what to do next. If you've got multiple tasks that all depend on each other, especially as a founder, this happens all the time. It's like, well, I have to launch the website before I can launch the product. Well, I have to have the product ready before I can launch the website, and they depend on each other. And how do I even navigate that? And and one tool that exists that didn't exist before is AI. And what is like seriously, like just the other day, I was dealing with exactly this type of problem. And I just went on ChatGPT and just explained my thing. It's like, I don't know where to start. I've got multiple problems that all depend on each other. And I know that the AI is not going to be able to give me the answer, but I just typed out sort of stream of consciousness, like what I'm struggling with. And what the AI does, okay, let's break this down. Here's some different ways that you can handle it. And here's the recommended place that I would start first. And I found that super helpful. It doesn't necessarily know what I need to do, but it does help me break it down from sort of a vague sense of problem that is not structured into a structured problem where I can take some action, you
And
know?
yeah, and even being able to specify the problem, right? Because oftentimes there's this as I said this fuzzy sense of okay, I don't know where to start, what's going wrong, or where do I start? But then when I try to even I'm I'm not doing this with AI that often I'd say, but just writing it even down, right? Just writing down, okay, what's the actual issue? Like
Oh,
really
yeah.
trying to write it down in detail. Okay, what is the problem? And I often realize, okay, I didn't even think about what the problem is in the first place. It was just that fuzzy feeling that I tried to kind of compensate. And forcing myself to write it down, I say, okay, it's part of the solution already, right? Because you say, oh, okay, maybe that's not like this is something that's not as heavy as I thought, so I can relax that constraint, like a dependency on something else.
Mm.
And that, yeah, again, that's the general remedy I would also throw in, writing things down, like whatever is in your mind, because it's very different what's going on in my mind all the time versus
Mm.
what I'm writing down in a structured way, right? Because that's in here, it's like kind of a roller coaster most of the time. It's like so many things just happening in parallel, and just writing them down and then figuring out, okay, what's the actual issue, and isolating these thoughts even, right? So this is also something that takes time, but really helps.
This makes sense. I mean, is like evolutionarily, right? What are we afraid of? What is fear? Fear is mostly about things that are unknown as opposed to known, or lions, right? But that aside. Um,
Unless you're in a zoo, you should be careful. But yeah, mostly,
no, but the thing, we're more afraid of things that we don't understand or don't know, and the more we demystify them, the less fear they cause. And one type of stress is about this unknown nature. And so it's like, okay, something bad is happening. I've got a bunch of dependencies. I don't know what to do with them, or what to do first, or how to even get started, or what I know I want to build something, or I know I need to hire people or something, but I don't know even what I need to know to get started. Being able to break it down into what I'm missing or what I don't know is super helpful. And one of the things that I've always struggled with is that other founders are busy. They've been through this, but they often don't have time to really consider where I'm coming from, and will often propose knee jerk solutions. If I have a friend and I just want to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, they're like, okay, why don't you just do this? But and their suggestions are often, I find, not helpful because they themselves are busy and don't have time to really consider what you're saying. On the flip side, people who do have time often haven't been through this type of founding experience, and so don't have the experience to be able to comment on it. So this is one of the reasons why, if you find some good support network that meets your needs, obviously keep nurture it, but also having additional tools like writing things down, but also like AI or whatever is available, make use of that, because those were, going through this type of thing. Part of this type of stress is just this unknown nature of
yeah.
what you're trying to deal with, right? But that's not the only type of stress either, is it, Alex? Like sometimes you just have too many demands. How do you deal with that?
With too many demand, well, oh man, this is a tricky topic. I think
Because
this,
I'm getting the sense that what you're going through right now isn't the great unknown, but is more like
no,
the
for the
great
unknown.
known.
So what I want to say is generally, and this feels counterintuitive, and it would have, like, when I started my first company, I'm not sure if I would have taken that advice, but today I want to say, when you're stressed out, just take a step away and take time for yourself. And then whatever that means, right? Whether that's loading the dishwasher or watching a horror movie, but just doing that, because I often feel like, oh, there's so much going on. I can't do it all. But I still try, right? I'm still drinking from the fire hose and doing all of that, because I feel like, yeah, if I just expend superhuman willpower or discipline or whatever, I'm getting through this. And I know that this is not true. Of course, it's not true, right? It's just not gonna work. But I still feel like, okay, if I just tweak this here and there, it's getting better. So despite, again, better knowledge. So that's what I want to say. Taking time out, even if it doesn't feel like this is the thing you could do, I think it's the most important thing you can do. And then back to your question about if there are too many things pulling from different sides. Um, I it depends on which area that affects. So it might come down to drawing personal boundaries,
Mm.
which I'm notoriously bad at doing, right? Because you had the like kind of people pleasing aspect. So it's really, I'm having a hard time doing this. I just leave that there. And the other is business-wise. It also takes time to reflect and see, okay, how can I get out of that, right? If I right now I feel I'm operationally too much involved, and we need to get to the next stage, which means, okay, how can we? I usually go that these priorities first. How can we remove something like a process or anything we don't have to do? How like removal is the first thing I'm looking for. Do we have to do this
Mm,
at all? If and then remove it. Second one is automation, AI, etc. Right? That's going to be a dedicated episode. How can you automate as much as possible? And then whatever is not cannot be automated, delegate, right? And then just getting to these are these are my first thoughts on that. How do
mm.
you deal with that?
Oh, honestly, like there's a problem with boundaries in general with people, and I'm in a similar boat. I have trouble saying no to things I want to say yes, and I think that this is partly from a business perspective, a phase of growth thing. When you're in the early phases of a company, you've got an idea, you've got to test it with customers. Customers say, oh, that's great, but I want this. And then you want to say yes, but that pulls you in a slightly different direction. Then another customer has something slightly different. And suddenly you've got multiple things pulling you in different directions, and you have obligations. And ideally, you would be able to say no to some of them. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you need to, but sometimes you just can't, and there are consequences. Um, in the first case, it's really hard emotionally to say no because you feel you need to say yes. Um, this is something that I'm going through right now because of the growth phase of my company. We're moving from sort of startup mode to scale up mode. And that means I need to have more formal processes. I need to have more focused product offerings so that it can say, okay, well, we offer this and we don't offer that. Other, because if we offered more customization options or whatever, then we would be pulled in too many directions and we
Hmm.
couldn't scale. Um, but it's not something that you can just fix overnight. It's something that comes in stages as you say, okay, well, this is what I'm cutting off, this is what I'm not putting energy toward. Maybe some people are better at it than me, I don't know, but it's a challenge going through that no saying phase. Being able to say I'm just not doing that, well, first of all, it does two things. For it cuts things off of your plate that you have to do, that's good. And it also gives you a sense of control. I find that um, a lot of stress in my life comes when I feel like I'm not in a sense of control,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm not in charge of. I'm being pushed along
Yes.
by forces outside of my control, and this can be related to this whole unknown factor. I don't know what to do or whatever, but and regaining that sense of I'm in charge, is very important. It's, if you think about it, like, what is depression in a lot of ways? It's feeling like I just don't even know what to do anymore. I don't, and having a sense of autonomy and control. It's like, oh no, I'm the pilot. I'm doing this. I'm not doing that. Being able to say no is a lot more powerful than being able to say yes in a lot of ways.
Yes, and what I mean, that sounds so cliche, but well, there's always this hidden. Even if you say yes to something, you're saying no to an infinite number of other opportunities, right? So if I say, okay, yes, we're building that feature, yes, I'm going to do this work, then I'm also saying no to many many things, right? And this is
Well, maybe
that
you are. I'm saying yes to everything and then going crazy.
fair. I mean, yes. So I'm just saying that there are things that you are aware of, right? That you're saying no to. So you're already doing this, even if just implicit. Um, but the yeah, I hear you. I'm bad at saying no because I don't want to let people down. I don't want to disappoint them, right? It's this is something that I learned in my first agency business when or when we had clients approaching us and I knew they weren't a good fit for us. And this is also
Mm,
something that I want to talk with you about. Like how do you qualify like a client, right? Or who's a good customer for you? And I knew we had customers who were great to work with, but I knew they couldn't afford the services. We still brought them in because I couldn't bear to tell them, look, it won't
they're
work
always
for
the
us.
most demanding ones, aren't they? The ones that
But
can't pay.
the thing is, this was really hard to break at some point because we were losing money on them, right? Because we did go well beyond what we were supposed to without charging all the way through. And this was really like it was compensated because we had other revenue streams, right? But so it wasn't immediately obvious. But I knew it was a mistake, and I couldn't bring myself to tell them, look, I really enjoy working with you, which I still would do today because these were great people and they cared so much for the product we've built. But I knew financially that's a bad decision, and I still did it. So this was one of the learnings I had from these days. So tough to do. That's it for this episode of The Founder Experience. If you enjoyed it, do us a favor, hit subscribe wherever you are listening, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. If you've got a second, leave a rating or a review, it really helps. And you can find more episodes and behind-the-scenes stuff on our website, founderexperience.fm. And if you've got feedback or business ideas that you want us to talk about, shoot us a message at hello@founderexperience.fm. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you next time.